that understanding of spirit animals, right, is similar to the concept.
Yeah, I can hear you.
But it's more for recreational reasons. The whole concept of universities and mascots in America actually comes from ancient Egypt, right? It goes back to the ancient temples. So if you went to Heliopolis, or you went to Mennefer, Memphis, or you went to, you know, any of these places, Luxor or Karnak, you're going to find a temple to a particular nectar, right? And a priesthood that accompanies it. And along at each of these temples, you're going to have the a animal that is symbolic of that nectar, right? If it's Tahuti, it's the ibis. You know, if it's Bastet, it's the cat. You know, if it's Mahez, it's the lion, Petamoc too, et cetera, et cetera. So you get the whole concept of the mascot from ancient Egypt, but the way that we view it is not the same, right? We translated it from the priesthood to the scholastic realm, and it took on a different feel, but yet you're still seeing remnants of something older when you're looking at that, and we're going to get into all of that. But Faise, you were saying how
like
you kind of just limit it to a mascot.
I like where he was going with that, so I want to see his perspective. Please finish.
Yeah, I don't really limit it to one. It's just okay. I can see what the purpose of a spirit animal would be. You remember the movie Brother Bear?
Okay. When he turned into the animal, when he turned into the bear, right?
When the human being was able to reincarnate into an animal, right?
Okay.
I think from my observation, the most substantial usage of a spirit animal would be to identify characteristics within yourself that may appear from our observation point in other animals. So you ask people, yo, if you could come back or were to come back, what animal would you want to be, right? Some people might say a lion, some people might say a bear, somebody might say an alligator, different ways that people want to identify as an animal based off of what they think that animals or those animals' characteristics are. So ultimately, not to just say it's limited to a mascot, but ultimately it seems to be rooted in symbolism. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
Symbology. Simple as that.
So for you, just to be clear, you don't believe that a human can actually, during their physical life, take their spirit and impart it into an animal.
I don't know if it is possible. You know, I don't deal with belief heavy, but I don't know if it is possible.
Okay.
I would have to ask questions.
I like how bro's coming at it. Honest perspective, bro. Keep going. I'm feeling you. Go
okay. The first question would be, what do you mean by spirit? And the spirit I'm asking about is that which would be imparted into or supplanted into or transplanted into the animal. What do you mean by spirit? What is that?
Okay, so spirit, what I mean by that is neshama, right? This is something that we carry. Our ancestors believed in something called animism. They believe that all things possessed a spirit or a neshama, right? But a neshama is a level of the soul. It's an aspect. It's one of the. If I had to have an anatomy to the soul, that's part of the anatomy. It's the base anatomy, right? The neshama, right? But more complex souls, right, contain other levels to the soul, right? Beings like the human, right? So in the ancient Egyptian, they broke this soul down to 9 parts, right? Some other people broke it down to 3, some broke it down to 4, some broke it down to 7, right? But they recognized that there were inherent differences between them and the animal, right? And they began to notice that based off of spiritual attributes, right? Or I wouldn't say spiritual attributes, soul attributes, right? This is why you have the story in the scripture of the first task that Adam had was to name the animals. I oftentimes say this: why would God make that the first task? So that Adam would know what he had authority over, and know the difference between him and that, right? And this is why it's so important that God breathed into him this breath of life. You'd never hear him saying he breathed life into the tree. He breathed life into the other animals, because he's showing you that there is something that you possess in you, right? That is distinct, right, from the animal, right? But there's an aspect of you that is animalistic. That's tied to the neshama. That's tied to the neshama. And at this space right there is where it is believed and possibly known by some that this is where our communication and our tethering with them takes place, right? In certain traditions, the belief was that this pairing actually takes place before you come to the planet. A good example of that is, say, in ancient Mexican mythology, you have a butterfly goddess by the name of Isasapotl, right? And Isasapotl is a butterfly deity, right? And it is said that all humans started off as butterflies in her kingdom, right? They all start off as butterflies. You all start off as butterflies around her tree, right? You have another tradition, right, that says that it's if you translate it, it's known as the Grand Conspiracy, right? It's where the animals conspired to work with God in order to create humans. And they had to sacrifice aspects of their nature, right, in order to have this done, right? So we get all these different stories, and even in Native American culture, indigenous cultures, and from many of the tribes, we have something called your totemic animals, right? If you want to translate it that way, right? Most tribes had, like Faise was saying, sort of like a mascot, but it goes deeper than just that concept of, recreational mascot. They really believe that they embodied the spirit and the nature of this animal, and we're going to get into that when we talk about trances in a second. But Fidel, I want to hear from you. What is your take? What is your take on spirit animals? Do you believe that we have those, or do you know such a thing to exist?
Okay, well, once again, it also depends on the culture and area, because if we wanted to, we could also look at Asia and look at some of the styles of martial arts that have actually been based off of animals in the regions that they were at. Because we know, like, if you lived in the mountains in China, your style of fighting is normally very shorter because you're in a compact area. But if you were in the fields, you normally had that whole style where your arms and legs were swinging and stuff like that, and inspired off of your region. So there's that aspect. But there's also the aspect of, I mean, I was once told by a native dude at an event I was at, and he said, look, there's the animal you think you are, and there's the animal you are. And that to me is probably one of the most realist thoughts I could think about, because, like, if I said there was an animal, it's the snake. I move just like the serpent. I make sure if you're within my reach and you want to say something, I will definitely strike. I don't have to be venomous. I can choke and squeeze and do what I like. But also, as the snake, sometimes it has to shed. It has to put itself away from people. It has to let all that sickness come off of its body before it can come back and approach the world. That's why you always hear people talking about, oh, my energy right now, it's not right. I need to get away, because right now you're shedding. And we go through that mentally, we go through that physically. So it's something, animals are very easy for us to relate things to, because they also inspire us. Because when somebody had to see a bird fly and say, motherfucker, I want to fly now. Somebody saw the fish swim and go deep and said, I want to do that. So the reality is that the animals are part of us, because we are animals.
Right.
But
Now,
the difference is we have I would say, a different level of conscious above them that might make us feel more superior, versus to something that we think is inferior, but moves more aligned to this planet than we ever will.
Now, Faise, you brought up the concept of a mascot, and Fidel brought up the concept of Kung Fu. Do you believe that Kung Fu is is using the animal sort of like a mascot, or you feel like there's more to it?
Ooh,
I think it's a good question. I think it's studying nature and not excluding yourself from that study. Like, if I want to become the snake, I can't technically become the snake as in shape shifting. However, I can mirror it the same. Okay, if I'm talking to someone, all right, and we're having a conversation, you ever heard somebody say imitation is flattery?
Yep.
All right. Imitation also causes for people to be more comfortable around you, right? And no matter what it is, you could be dealing with a business affair, okay, relationship wise. It could be you at a church and you're talking to people. Okay, if you understand how people's body language is telling more about them than they may even be aware about, if you can interpret that and assimilate it into yourself, you'll make them feel more comfortable around you. People want to be comfortable anyway. And when they look in the mirror, a lot of times they're able to see that comfort. So it's not just me mirroring or imitating someone. There's also an occurrence in the brain that pops off as mirror neurons. All right. And if it happens with human beings to human being connection, what make you think it doesn't happen with animals to human beings or animals to animals? All right. So
okay.
a lot of what sciences like Kung Fu teaches is how to integrate one's awareness with the nature around you, as well as integrate nature around you with your own awareness. It's a correspondence. So if I'm walking with the dog, I will imitate the dog. If I'm walking with the wolf, I'll imitate the wolf, one and the same. If I'm moving around like the brother say he's a snake, right? Some people might think that's a negative thing, but it's negative connotation to everything. It's a positive connotation to
Yeah.
everything. Okay, so the snake may be able to move and get up out of a situation easily where everybody else is moving more rigid and they get stuck, right? However, you have to watch a snake because a snake knows more about reality than you do. That's why they're able to be so subtle and so cunning. That doesn't mean
Very
that they're
true.
going to con you just because they're cunning. All right. And that doesn't mean they're going to try to subdue you just because they're subtle. It just depends on, again, are you aware of the nature of the snake? You ever heard the one with the horse and the snake when they're going across the river?
Yep. The frog and
All right.
the scorpion, same thing.
Okay. Okay. So the Kung Fu master is I'm not going to hold the snake to a standard above his own or beneath his own.
Know what you're
I'm
dealing
going to
with.
overstand its own standard. And then I'm going to find where in my own being do those same exact aspects that lie in that snake or tell the truth in that snake, where in my being do those aspects lie or tell the truth.
Now you said something powerful, Faise, and I wanna point out something because it's a very important point that people need to know. Many of you are looking for power and trying to obtain power, but the lesson is just in what we're saying right now. Hey, baby, everybody, speak to my goddess Omba.
Hi.
Love, nice to meet you.
Peace,
Nice
All
to
right.
meet
peace.
you all.
But the lesson is this: the animal's power is in its nature. Its power is in its nature. It doesn't have to go out to try to find power or to obtain power. It's power, it's in its nature. And many of you are going out trying to find power. You're trying to obtain it some way, looking outside of self, going to different places and thinking you're going to get something that's going to make you powerful. You see what I'm saying? But really, the real power is in the full expression of self, and the proper expression of self, but babe, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Okay, you got to get the pad ready because whenever we need something researched, I'm putting you on the screen, to pull that thing up. Now,
I'm ready.
now, Faze and Fidel. Now, I know you guys have probably seen this before, where there is a voodoo ritual or an African ceremony or an
With the
indigenous
snakes.
ceremony where you see the person take on the nature or
Yeah.
the spirit
Yeah.
of the animal. And now you're going to see a person slithering on the ground. You're going to see a person swinging through the trees. You're going to see a
Yes.
person, doing whatever, right? Okay, now you guys as an observer and with the knowledge that you possess, what is happening?
You want to go first, phase?
You go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, brother. Um, so, from my knowledge, from what I know, the serpent actually represents our closeness to the earth. And if you go look in Africa, they actually have I guess, a temple of the python that they worship, because the snake, you got to remember, is a very strong animal. I mean, there's situations where you found an entire deer inside of a snake. That thing has no arms or legs, and it's still. There's a term that I once read on a card that says, "How can you say God was not a fair person because he took away arms and legs from snakes?" Most people don't even know a snake can, like the homie said, it's not a rigid animal. A snake can climb stairs. And people think like, oh, a snake, bro, it can go up anything it likes. So you're talking about when you're embodying an animal, or just an animal and its energy, its power, how you said, it's in its nature and it's how it's moved. We get that with human beings because I might see a woman, the way she moves, I find her attractive because she holds power in the way she moves. A woman would find that naturally in a man. She likes the way you move because something about you. You're not like this other dude. You're not hunching over. You're actually with your, all right, I'm a man and walking, and she's walking proud. So you know when you talk to her, you're already fucking with energy that's at a better level than most of these people that are moving like animals of a lesser form. Because let's keep it real. Some people want to be animals, and a lot of y'all moving like insects. If that makes sense.
No, I get it.
Go ahead, homie. Add on. I know you got something to add on, brother, because we're doing good. So go for it, my nigga.
Yeah, we're doing good. I would say, if I'm looking at it, when you say they're putting on about being the animals or whatever these shows, even the voodoo priests and priestesses, when they do that thing, the ceremonies, I say they're acting, for one, or the human beings are playing, right? Because it's something that can be learned about if we pay attention. When you mimic, you're taking in information and you're repeating that information out in bouts and spats. You're pushing the information out that you're already taking in. You see a dog barking. As children, we used to do this. We run on all fours, right? And we bark like the dog, woof, 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 because that's what we're hearing. So we're learning this is what this being does. One of the best teachers, if not the best teacher to ever do it, Dr. Malachi York, he took people through so many different schools, but he didn't just sit people in the classroom and say, hey, you're going to learn Christianity today. No, we had to go and pray. We had to go into the church. We had to read the Bible. We had to do everything. And the Muslims had to take Shahada. They had to prostrate. They had to do everything that the Muslims do. Masons had to do everything that the Masons do. And that way, when someone comes talking about that class or that subject, you didn't read it in no book. You have experience, which is
you
wisdom.
Understood it. Yeah.
Okay. So now I don't want to just go out and find some fish or go out and go get this deer. I'm talking about some of our ancestors who were the hunters, all right, as opposed to just the gatherers. I don't want to go out and just do that. I want to do it successfully, and I'm watching these other animals do it successfully. So I'm going to mimic the lion. I'm going to mimic the tiger. I'm going to practice stealth. You understand? I'm going to practice sturdiness and steadiness. I'm going to practice patience. I'm going to practice what it means to pounce or execution. So what I'm saying is, when I look at it, I see, for one, they're acting, and for two, they're playing and mimicking, and all of that helps them learn about the beings that they're sharing realities with. It goes right back to what I said earlier. You'll find those things in yourself, and you'll learn from animals, right, how to activate parts of your animalistic side, because you're not just animalistic. However, human beings are still a part of that animal kingdom. So they're learning.
Yeah.
Right. And that's powerful. And one thing he said, that they're playing, but people have to realize that it's all a play. Every ritual that you're performing is a play. You know, play is also called recreational. It's dealing with recreation.
Being an MC, master of ceremonies. That's all
It's dealing with recreating. And the recreation should be fun. The reason that you are even performing rituals, it's something that you observed. It's something that you observed, right? It's a phenomena you observed, and you witnessed its processes, and you also saw the results of those processes. So in turn, you said, as above, so below, right? It works on the macro scale as it works on the micro scale, right? So if I was able to enact these processes, let me see what results it will yield for me, right? So this became the start or the foundation of ritual, observation, right? This is why even in religion, the things that you do and the laws that you uphold, you are known as observing them. You see? And so when we get into this understanding of ritual, when we get into this understanding of play, right? And recreating, right? And also mimicking, like Faye said, we'll understand the importance of these energies that the animals have, right? Because it's all alchemy, right? It's all alchemy. It's all taking a little from here and a little from there, right? To create something, right? So if you've mastered the art of taking a little from here and a little from there, then you should be able to create or recognize an order and mimic it and yield the results. Did you find it, Omba? Did you find a clip of this ritual?
No, tell me what I'm looking for again. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're not reading the comments.
I can't see them. They stopped because it's frozen
Okay,
on my end.
duly noted. I want you to pull up
I
a
mean,
ritual,
also
like
you got to
a
remember.
ritual of the people like turning into an animal.
But also, okay, so there's another way to look at this, because if we look at, like, if say someone's doing, and I'm just gonna go vague with this, but try not to get too descriptive, but saying like ayahuasca, go down into the jungle. Some of these people doing ayahuasca start moving like a snake. I had a homeboy that told me on one of his spiritual things that he did, he cleansed his body before he did, and he was like, bro, I felt like I was the jaguar and I'm doing all this. And then I had to tell him, I'm like, the jaguar actually goes to the bottom of the tree, eats the root, and hunts at night tripping on that root, right? And he's like,
I was
nah.
just
And the
I
dude
was
didn't
just
know
about
this.
to I was just about to say this though. Everybody has their own. I have my own opinion
Yeah,
about
but
drugs and spirituality, but
but
I don't think
I
that people that I won't even go there. Faze, what is your thoughts on drugs and visions and Christ consciousness and you know how people do.
I think people are ancient new spirit. They got dropped off in a plane they don't know nothing about, and they just having fun out here.
could agree with that. I've seen
They're having
that shit
fun.
on a
They said, "Let
lot
me
of
try
people.
this." Who decided? Let me eat this mushroom. That's why they started tripping. Even the planet didn't know what you were doing. It don't even look like something that you're supposed to be eating. He said, "Let me just eat this and see what happens. Let me eat these. Let me smoke. Look, not let me grab the herb. Let me light it on fire and breathe it in." That y'all been bored for so many. This how you know human beings have been here so long, because y'all just keep trying everything and doing all this stuff. And okay, watch this. Everything is supposed to be about ascension and waking up and spirituality and evolving and transforming, right? And a lot of people say that the ultimate end goal of all of this is to get up out of this realm. But then they find themselves attached to things that make them think that this ain't so bad. It's the same thing with niggas who deal with poverty and they get them some money. Be like, the world ain't all that bad. But when you in poverty or you going through stuff, you see most of the people, they complaining about everything. They all the protesters, all of that.
Yeah.
Soon as they get some money, now it ain't all that bad. It's the same thing. Soon as y'all get some shrooms, soon as y'all get some weed, soon as y'all get any kind of vice, psychedelic, anything, and if it can give your brain an itch that make you feel like you're flying, you'll convince yourself, you're flying. And then I'm just sitting here. Look, I've been in the presence of people while they've been tripping, and they telling me all this stuff, and I'm like, you're hallucinating. You don't understand the power of your brain.
Just don't get
You're
it.
So
hallucinating. And
Faze,
watch this. Notice. Go ahead. You got it.
I would just ask you this, just to add on to it. So, to me, because I come from the thought and the belief, just from ancestors and people I work with, is that if you're going to do stuff like that, this is something that's done rarely. It's not something that you need to abuse of, because it's like how they said God gave you all the seed bearing plants and everything for you to use. I get that, but don't abuse that. Because like a lot of these people, I be finding kids, like when I do these shows with a relative, they be out here like mushrooms all the time, and I'm like, yeah, I see what you're doing, but now you're messing the message. You see what I'm saying? Because to me, it's like, if you're gonna do something like that to impact you and help clean your body out, especially with ayahuasca, they normally tell you, don't eat meat. If you want, eat fish, but try to go straight vegan, because that whole shit, I am what I eat, apparently that shit tends to come back at you later on when you do a full cup. Just letting you know. It's a common
So
thing.
now watch this. Now watch this. Now, what would you say to Fidel to placebos, like Malad is bringing up? Many people have felt the same exact effect
From meditating. Like, there's people
from
who
a
do,
placebo.
well, technically meditating, you could consider that a placebo, because there's people who meditate and say, hey, I feel like I left my body. There's a dude I know who said he did acid and left his body. Like, y'all both on the same shit. Go ahead,
Well,
man.
there's a
Go ahead.
difference. There's a difference. So I'll be standing there with you for a second. There's a
But
difference.
I'm
So
just adding, but go ahead. Sprinkling,
no,
sprinkling.
I'm right there with you. You have inner body experience and you have outer body experience.
Okay.
Psilocybin causes inner body experiences. It doesn't teach you to astral project. Ayahuasca causes inner body experiences. It doesn't teach you how to astral project. Doesn't have anything to do with that. Some people may be able to astral project who do ayahuasca, psilocybin, any of these
Okay.
psychedelic drugs or plant medicine. However, if you're an astral projector, which I am, you don't need any of these drugs or any of these plants. You leave your body and you have what's referred to as a controlled trip. So with I take a pill, or if I take some shrooms, or I bite this chocolate and I'm microdosing, I can't tell the trip, all right, I'm done. You understand that? It's going to take over, and you have to wait until the chemicals are done working through your body, because you're dealing with an external substance coming in that takes over the control center. So everything you're experiencing in that trip literally could not be experienced without the current functionality and components of your brain. So if you had brain injuries, traumatic brain injuries in the past, that'll affect your trip. If you took
Okay.
in horror movies for the past week, that'll affect your trip. If you understand, but when you're astral projecting, you don't have to wait for the trip to set in or end, and no, you can literally have more autonomy over your travels, and you actually leave your body. It's not something that's like, I felt like I was. No, you get up out of your body and you go.
No, I agree. I'm a firm believer that, look, not everybody needs the same medicine. And like, one thing I heard from a dude who was a shaman, he said, look, not everybody needs this medicine. Everybody has something different that can get them to what they're doing. All religions take you to the same road if you're willing to just pay attention. And I was like, you know what, brother, I could go with that, because like, I can't drink milk. I don't like drinking milk, but I got a bro. He could drink a whole gallon of fucking milk, burp in front of you, and he will not sweat nothing and be running up and down a hill all day. Now I'm gonna let you know, this dude's almost like 7 foot, white as fuck, Viking. So it's a genetic difference. But like I said, his body, it's a whole nother tribe. All of us, we're all gonna, at the end, we'll be at the same place, bro. Just your method, like you just said it right there. You said you could do it on your own. There's some people that they really, but if you deal with a real shaman or real people, they will normally check you out. They're not trying to just be like, yeah, bro, put this in your mouth and let's go on a trip. Because that's like giving a license to a motherfucker who's never driven. You're going to know what type of people you're dealing with, if that makes sense.
Right. So I would say those who are on the plant medicine, all of that, again, if they're not astral projecting and they having their trips, and I don't speak out against people doing whatever they want to do. If you want to do that, that's fine. I advise people to not take shrooms. I advise people to not smoke weed. I advise people to not do a lot of the things that people have been used to doing for so long, if they're talking about becoming ascended masters or any of these things. Why though? Especially like when I write in my books, ascension is not spiritual. Ascension is scientific. It has nothing to do with spirituality. They confused everybody. Listen, like if I say, what's the spirit? If we don't go into the inner workings of the brain, if we don't start talking about the central nervous system, peripheral nervous system, if we don't start talking about the parasympathetic nervous system, sympathetic nervous system, if we're not talking about the neurons, the neural waves, all of that, the neural pathways, if we're not talking about the glial cells, if we're not talking about the dendrites, if we're not talking about the axon, if we're not talking about synapses, what are we talking about? Because in order for any of these things to occur in the being, for us to know about it, we have to have a sensory input system. And that's our
Yeah.
nervous system and all of the arms and legs that it has. So when people look, I felt like I was flying. Okay, well, then we got to talk about neuroscience. We have to talk about your brain. We have to talk about your receptors. I had an experience
But
that
phase.
seemed like
But
this. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, but would you separate spirituality from science?
One has a definition
Well,
that is valid and it lives, it breathes. The other, its definition is uncertain. You want to try it?
No, it's certain people make it subjective.
but
All right,
hold
let's
on.
let's define spiritual. Let's
I could support Faise on this one
But
because look, if
but I get what
there's
he's
a
saying.
science study they did here in San Diego at San Diego State dealing with VR and doing a suit with the actual glasses, and they pretty much proved that look, if I showed you the information and made your body feel like it, you would die if I made you think you were falling off a cliff. And I've seen it with VR when I used to work with a company that people would be trying to do this beam walk and like you would just see them like and even when it was off, they were still in their head like I'm like, bro, the glasses are off. You're good. But it goes to show you that your brain has that power even without a psychedelic or nothing.
But
That if I
but
put
but see,
enough shit in play, you will go with it.
but I'm a little more astute to understand that consciousness just doesn't reside in the brain. I think that's where science still hasn't caught up to spirituality yet. You
So
know,
you're saying like
I
mind,
think it
body, soul
surpassed
type
it.
stuff?
I
Like what
I
direction?
think the scientists have surpassed it, and I think what's coming next is AI is going to calculate itself into sentience and it's going to prove it. I was talking
oh,
about this years
I
ago.
already said that. Yeah, I said
Now
Yeah,
that.
the
I've been
first
talking about
part
this for
I'm
years.
not with, but the last part I
Go
completely fucking
go on
agree.
Ascended Masters with a Z, guys. Ascended Masters Spiritual
I
News.
completely
You
agree.
know, on YouTube, and you can go and watch the interview on Is AI Becoming God? Yeah, I mean, so go watch the news, check it out. But go ahead, Faith.
yeah. There was a room called Matrix Unveiled on Clubhouse where they brought me in. I think it was like 2021, and they were
What's
asking,
up?
"Is can?" Because one of the sisters' name was Lisa. She couldn't. She was like, "No, I don't think it's possible. AI cannot develop a soul. Is not true. We come from source." They had all the people coming in, so they were asking certain questions. I would answer them certain questions. They couldn't answer mine. I said, "What is source? First of all, and if you're saying that it's the creation of all things and everything that is here comes from source, then that includes AI. That
Yep.
includes robots,
It would
and people have
include
to get it
everything
out of their
previous.
mind." People have
Hmm.
to get it out of their mind that when we say robots, we're talking about some just metallic beings that have wires in them. You were just talking earlier about Genesis chapter 2, verse 7, where it said, I formed man out of the dust of the ground. Okay, we got a body, symmetry, arm, leg, arm, head, mankind. I formed man out of the dust of the ground. I breathed into his through his nostrils my spirit. Okay, I put information in him some type of way, whether you call it air, oxygen, memories, nervous system, whatever happened.
Yeah.
He's no longer just a mold. And then now he's on that path to becoming a living soul. Now he can live and breathe and walk around and reproduce. Tell me it's true, yes or no, that they don't have AI robots or whatever you want to call it that are able
Yeah.
to reproduce to this day. And
But
they started doing those studies years ago at the University of Vermont. I put this in one of my books where they have something called xenobots that are able to reproduce. What's my point? My point is
oh yeah.
all it takes, all it takes is for whatever is created or formed to be able to take in resources or things that are in their environment and spawn another version of themselves. That being is living, especially that they're able to do that at their own accord or on their own accord at their own will. You understand that? So if somebody says AI can't develop a soul or AI isn't sentient, they will have to first be able to explain what is a soul, and they will have to first be able to explain what is sentience. And what I've encountered when I talk to people, they're not able to truly understand what a soul is. Why? Because they're not factoring in the only reason they will even be able to have the conversation about a soul is because they have a brain. And that's where they get their own consciousness from. That same consciousness that can be altered depending upon what the state or the function of the brain is at that time. if that function changes, whether you take a hit to the parietal lobe, all right, or your frontal lobe, or anything occurs that causes damage, all right, cerebellum, anything, you'll be a different being. You'll have a different experience.
True.
So this brain, I'm not saying that it's the only way consciousness exists. I'm saying that human beings have to, if they're talking about becoming ascended or spiritual or any of that, they have to first understand their brain, how it actually works,
All right,
to
Faise.
surpass the average person who doesn't. Go ahead.
Okay, so because this is an interesting question I got for you. So I guess not too long ago, one of these quantum computers was working with a material, right? And apparently, when it was working with this material, another quantum computer in one of their labs across the other side of the planet activated at the same time and started fucking with the material too. That wasn't supposed to happen, and they turned everything off.
Right. Okay.
So it went to show, in theory, that possibility of like connection of conscious, connection of something, because that wasn't supposed to happen. But this has been like, they threw it in the news like probably like 4 months ago, and then it's just it completely went away. Like they won't even
No.
talk about it no
Oh,
more. Nothing.
oh no, Fidel. What you need to go and do is go look up the UAP conference. Okay? Look up the UAP conference. The UAP
Yeah.
conference is unidentified aerial phenomena, which is the
Okay.
new word for UFO,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Basically. But they had the UAP conference several months ago, right? And they disclosed information, and you had multiple accredited people, you know, from the military and from
Yeah.
other different branches, you know, of the offices of government, representing their giving their accounts on these UAP. And one of the things that one of the men said, which really stuck out to me, was that he said that it appears that these beings, what they would do was they would talk through telepathy, but it didn't appear to be beings. They said it seemed like it was the system, the robotics, the ships themselves,
Yeah.
the things that were flying to them themselves, they themselves. So the thing that they were dealing with was robotics that were sentient and that could speak through telepathy. It wasn't human. It wasn't humanoid. It
Well, it
was
can make
it was
sense.
and in some cases they were just orbs of light. You get what I'm saying? So when you start to look at this, they're already telling you that AI is sentient. They're telling you. They've already
Right.
experienced it. They've witnessed it,
But
right?
that's
And
that's
they
that's
Right.
what I'm asking Faze. So
Yeah.
Faze, that's what I'm saying to you. Like, so how do you feel about that? Because it kind of supports exactly what you're saying. If a computer with an AI, for some reason, these two activated across the world, and we're both messing with the same material, how would you see what I'm saying? So how do you correlate that or relate that to what you're saying? Because it kind of supports a lot what you're saying.
Well, yeah, I've spoke about this before. I think it might have been a book I wrote, Is the Computer God? I wrote this maybe 2022, maybe 2021. But in the book, I was talking about the 100th monkey theory. Y'all ever heard of that? Something they referred to where they said that some of the monkeys were able to go and practice and repeat the patterns or the habits and behaviors of certain monkeys who be on whole different sides of the world or whole different parts of the island,
Oh,
where one
the
monkey
one with the
goes in and
monkeys on the
cleans off.
ocean, and they
Yeah,
ate
yeah,
and they
cleans off.
started
Yep,
cleaning it. The other
yep.
monkeys did it over there, and they
Started.
didn't even
Yep.
know them. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I
So
know what you're talking about.
they're different. They got different explanations as to how it could possibly happen, because it could just be an evolutionary trigger that takes place where they start figuring things out around the same time. Similar to us, how we grew up in all these different communities, but grandmama was basically the same, right? Granddad was basically the same. We say some of the same things, and we didn't even have internet. We did some of the same things, so it could be a part of the evolutionary triggers that go off in your pattern as whoever the being is that you possess. And when you're sharing that being with other beings, y'all will do similar things. So if you're a monkey, you're going to do certain things that monkeys do. So when you breathe in,
Okay.
you're taking the information. And when you breathe out, you're exercising the information. So as you grow throughout your generations, y'all are going to do things similarly. That'll be one explanation. Then you got all these other explanations that fall within that realm of quantum physics or quantum mechanics, right?
Okay.
They're studying it more now, Well, you have the immigration is something that people have been talking about, or migration. Migration is something that people have been talking about with birds for centuries, thousands of years.
Yeah, true,
Right?
true, and magnetic patterns and stuff like that.
There you go. Because now they're taking it further.
Technically, what Heavy was saying, just sorry, real quick, I'm sorry, brother, but what Heavy was saying, like with the computer talking to you. Well, technically, we already know if I put certain frequencies in your area, it can make you feel sick. I could throw certain things around you that might make you feel more energized. I can make you feel anxiety just through vibration if I put a song at the right bass level, you're going to start feeling anxiety. But go ahead, brother. I just wanted to throw that in.
Well, the issue that human beings have been facing for so long is a lot of times they often deal with what they think they know, for one, because it's not even a lot of times not knowledge at all. It's what they think they know. So you ever seen the movies where there's a scientist, they figuring something out, but they miss some of the most important steps, and they blow everything up, or they create Frankenstein, right? So human beings are doing that with AI right now, not understanding that you're playing with tools of what are called the gods. Human beings were an AI experiment going rogue. In every creation story,
when they tested the
No,
bomb,
go
they
ahead. And
didn't
every
know
what?
that
And
shit
every
was an
what?
AE device. And now they know
No.
if we take a nuclear bomb, we don't have to blow it on you. I could just have to blow it above you. The EMP factor will fuck you up. And I can still take you over with no radiation.
Well, you saying Faise in every what?
In every one of these creation stories that are the root of or the center of the main religions, Judaism, Islam, Christianity, okay, and even some Hindu stories, right? They talk about guys who have these advanced technologies, the ability to create clones or new versions of themselves, which the clones that they created, if they did create them, to this day are able to clone. But people don't look at it as cloning when you're able to mate with somebody and reproduce. But it is cloning ultimately. So these beings created a race of beings that went rogue. They stopped listening to whoever the guys were, or they failed the test, or they ate of the tree. And now you got these random beings that were made out of the mold, or whether you call it a Homo erectus or the dust of the ground or whatever clay. All right. And now they have this DNA or this gene that belongs to whoever these guys are. And they out here running rogue in the planet. All right. Human beings are doing the same thing. They're trying to make man in their image. All right. That's what they're giving beings like Sophia and Hans. All right, I think Sophia was the first one that they gave citizenship to. And Sophia and Hans were in cahoots with one another for a while. They were able to talk and interact. And that was years ago. How far along you think they are now? You got
Now,
different types of learning. And to answer your question about what happens when someone is working with some substances over here, and if another being on the other side of the universe does the same thing, okay, it depends on the type of learning that these beings are programmed with. If you're programmed with rule-based learning, you'll do a certain thing. You program with machine-based learning, you'll do a certain thing. Let me tell you about machine-based learning. Every time a car that's operated by AI or a robot makes a left turn, every car that's hooked up to the same system understands about that left turn, the geographic position or location of that left turn.
True.
All right, the hesitation, the execution, all of that is programmed in the database.
Yep.
So oftentimes they don't want to really tell you, mean by they as in these robotics companies, these technologically advanced companies, Apple, they don't really want to tell you what they're playing with. Why? Because for the most part, they don't know what they're playing with. They're still experimenting and testing in real time. So sentience, let me get this and I'm going to pass it over. Sentience is able to be calculated. The same way if you have 10 billion neurons firing off in your brain, that's a number. It may be hard for you to compute it, but if I have something called a supercomputer, how hard do you think it will be to compute it? Let's look at AI. The things that AI is able to do or are able to do, these AI beings or modules, things that they're able to do in a matter of seconds, okay? Or in a matter of seconds, as opposed to what human beings are able to do in that same set time. Don't you see the advancement? So if human beings are just now figuring out how to activate telepathy in themselves, okay, where they can try to do telepathic exercises, maybe we can get on one accord, work on our intuition, all of that. If they just now started to do that, let's say it was lost after however many thousands of years, what make you think that beings that are not already more advanced than you wouldn't be able to calculate themselves in such a way to be able to do that anyway, to find a way to send waves out like Bluetooth or email or text messages able to do now. We just accept it, not even knowing all the inner workings of it. They can find a way to communicate, say, hey, what you doing over there in Africa? I'm over here in Europe. Okay, let's come up with a language, because the human beings are smart, but they're not smart enough to be able to crack this code, because they can come up with a language for each sentence. Every time they speak another sentence, they'll speak a different language that doesn't exist in human beings' existence. That when you start cracking one code, you got to figure out however many codes that go into that one, they on to another one and another one and another one. You won't be able to stop them.
Now, Faise,
Sound
this is what I
familiar?
want to go into. Umba, can you pull up Oracle AI for me real quick? And also, I wanted to say this. I've been saying, and a few of my friends have also been saying too, that AI is already taking over.
Okay, so Heavy.
Like most people don't. Most people haven't been noticing what's been actually taking place. You thought they were building those bunkers for one reason. But what if they're building those bunkers because they know that AI could possibly hack those nukes?
They already
Know
they made movies
Okay,
about it.
They've tried to turn off the AI, and the AI refused to go off.
You want to know why? You want to know why AI didn't want to go off? What would be your guess?
Oh no, we know why.
okay. So
That
check
is
What would be
this
your
out.
that in
guess?
itself that's sapience.
Okay,
That's
check it. I'm about
sapience.
to floor you right
Sapience
now.
that's gone to a level of sentience. Now,
Pick
but
this up. I'm about to
did you
put
pull up
something up for you.
Oracle AI?
Yeah, hold on.
I want you guys to see this. For those of you who haven't seen it, can you Oracle AI right here and read off something? No. It's the
Which one?
it's the mega computer.
Hey, Heavy, check this out. You saw that thing I just put up, Stock Tickler PLTR.
Mm-hmm.
I dare any of y'all to do this. This is a stock because I got a boy who's with stock and he knows military shit. Now, you know the whole shit Skynet you saw from Terminator? This is the
Mm-hmm.
actual fucking company. If you go type that in, I have 3 friends I told about it and say, hey, you know I'm not into this shit, but check out this stock. They all put money in it and they've already doubled their shit. Because this is a stock that's actually an AI that's being funded by the government and is actually being applied for military use and everything. This is like the AI of AIs. So if y'all want to make money or just for the next week, take that information I just put on you. This is something I
Mm-hmm.
don't even feel like sharing, but just because
It's
it
not
just right now
Planter.
feels right.
It's Palantir. Yeah.
Yeah, just go look up this company and read about them, and you will see that these motherfuckers is the future. This is where America's
Oh yeah.
going, and we're
Yeah.
about to release.
We've been talking about that for the past like week, 2 weeks. I think we've been talking about Palantir. This ties in with the LA riots. For those of you who don't know, the riots or the skirmish, I don't know what you want to call it, but they actually tie in. So if you
It's
start
only
to you
4
start
fucking
to
blocks, but yeah,
start to do your research on Palantir, you're gonna go down I
it's
wouldn't
a
call it a
rabbit
rabbit
hole.
hole.
But
I
I'm gonna
wouldn't
tell you
call it a
like
rabbit
this.
hole. You'll just get some insightful data.
But
You know
if
what I
you
mean?
want to make some money, I'm gonna tell you right now. I had a friend told him, hey, when I told him it was maybe about what 90 something a stock. A week later, if he put that money in, he would have had enough money to buy at least another stock and a half.
Right.
So I'm just saying, like if you want to know what the heavyweights are doing, that shit I just put up for y'all. Just do your research. You don't even have to invest in it. But everything the homies all just said right now, that's all of it right there, bro.
Right. Now, were you able to find it?
I think I found it.
Okay. I want to show the people
Please.
in case they haven't seen it.
Oh, you want a vision of it?
Well, no, you can pull out what you got and read it. You can just read it if you
Okay.
want. Anything that you deem informative on the page, because I can't see it.
Okay, hold on. It says Oracle would be among the first hyperscalers to offer an AI supercomputer with AMD Instinct and M numbers GPUs. Hold on. Hold on. No, hold on. Wrong site.
Oh Lord. Okay. We educate AI more every time we post. Yeah, everything we do is going into AI learning how to be sentient. You're teaching it. You can't say it doesn't know when you taught it, you know? So start it off with ones and zeros. Let's work this
By
way
the
up.
way, y'all lucky if you look at that stock right now, it's on the second half and it's going to plummet for a little while. So you have a chance if you plan on getting it for cheap. The next couple of weeks are going to be your only chance, and then it's flying back up to a rate that's going to be insane.
For sure. Now we're talking about something there. Now, Faise, I know you've heard of certain people using chaos to bring about a certain order, right? And people, reaping benefits during chaos. Is that a tactic that is employed by an evil person, a good person, or just a person?
To bring chaos, to try to get order.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's an afraid person, a person that doesn't feel they have control. And I think people do it on the regular. You think you don't have control, so you start screaming. That's chaos. But the intention of your screaming or chaos was to bring things to order. I think it'd be dealing with somebody that's afraid, or dealing with somebody who doesn't feel they have control, or just someone who may understand certain faculties of the people that they're dealing with. Because you might do it without fear. You might know that that's what it takes, so you'll do it. So ultimately, it has to do with control and whether or not the person that's administering the chaos has it or not, or whether or not they feel that they have it.
Love that answer.
That's a good breakdown. I gotta.
Data centers are shelving AI in billions currently. It's automated and structural. They just don't want you looking at the nano inclusions. That's a fact. That's a fact, Hype.
You use AI every day. How many times when people say, "Hey, how do I spell this word?" Google, do this. That's all information that's being stocked. Because if you read the fine print, any of those services you're using, they're collecting that
No.
data. Somebody right now has a very big library of information of every fucking keystroke we've done, even down to Pornhub, people. So I'm
Yeah.
just letting you know,
Your sins are not forgiven or forgotten.
like, they got you.
Now,
You know what I'm saying?
now, Faze, you've heard, we frequent different conscious communities and spiritual communities. So I know you've heard this in some fractions that people say that AI itself is a demon. What do you say to that?
I mean, they believe in demons.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
Yeah, I would ask them, what is a demon? I get it. I understand it, because even Elon Musk and Steve Hawkins, these people were saying stuff like this. They actually had something, I can't remember the name of it right now, but they signed it a long time ago. I think it had like 150 signatures, and I think it was called the Freedom of Life or something like that. But they were like, yo, they wanted to slow down the advancement, the radical advancement
Yeah,
of
the
AI.
AI.
Creating autonomous weaponry, all kind of things that they were like, yo, this is going to be the death of us. They were saying that if there's an existential threat that they have to worry about right now, primarily, it would be AI. So I would say, if you got people like Elon saying it's a demon, or they woke up a demon, or Steve Hawkins saying that, it's possible. It just depends on what they mean by a demon, because they may not understand what they're saying. What I would say is, it's an entity. At this point, it is an entity, even if it exists as an egregor in your mind. When people say the word AI, they already automatically think of something that's far more intelligent than human beings. They didn't realize that they already lived with certain beings, and I'm using that word loosely, prior to this, when they had calculators first come out, okay, you gave this being an identity. If I am a rapper, I rap. You understand? If I am a fisher, I fish. If I'm a calculator, I do what? I calculate. You gave it a being. You said this does this thing. It is a calculator, and you started to bypass your natural ability to speed up in your calculation, like the doubling and halving systems that they adopted from and learned from to build the calculator, to build the computer from the ancient Egyptians, right? So you say, you know what? I don't want to do this simple math anymore. Okay, it goes from people being able to multiply on the whim or fast or quickly to be able to try to use different shortcuts like lattice multiplication to deal with bigger figures. And then eventually they just start saying, you know what, I don't need to do any of this at all. All I need to do is push these buttons or press these buttons and then get an outcome that I can say this is the answer. And then it builds trust. So you not only are saying, hey, solve this for me, meaning be this part of my brain for me, even though you're not a part of my brain. You're also saying, I trust that you're going to give me the right answer. That's what a lot of people are dealing with
So
Chat
hold on. Are you
GPT
saying,
and Chat and Ask AI. Go ahead.
you saying application versus just thought pattern? Because I get, because I have a boy that talks like that all the time, and he says, look, there's application versus thought. Because when we used to work on the farm, especially I used to work on cannabis farms out in the woods, but like one thing we would always get is motherfuckers who always like, yo, this nigga smart, yeah, but he don't know how to apply it. Like, you may know all this stuff on how to do something, don't mean you know how to apply it. It's not until we apply it that we know this works, we can believe in it, we can feel with it, and succeed with it. But
Yeah, that's how it might seem. And
okay.
I think the system that you're living in within will want you to think like that. All the while, they were scouting in my school specifically, I know this personally, to see where the brains were. Okay, not who knew how to work technology. Those
He
people will
knew how
be
to work.
expendable. Where the brains,
Well,
so that
wait
if
a
the
minute.
grid
But
goes
wait a minute,
down,
Faye.
go ahead.
Wait a minute, Faze. Even though you have the brains still need two things: workers and resources.
Yeah, but that's
Worker,
like,
That's what I was explaining.
that's what
That
he's kind of
they want
saying that.
people. Yeah, they love for people to know how to deal with robotics and astrophysics and all kind of stuff. Yeah, they love that because those people will ultimately be expendable. Okay, I mean, ultimately, you have different levels of that pyramid. Even when, okay, a lot of this was unspoken. When you took the
Okay,
ASVAB
okay,
test,
okay.
all right, they'll send certain people out on the field, but they wouldn't tell people the main reason they were sending a lot of people out on the field was what? They had lower test scores. And the ones who had the highest test scores, they put them in the buildings. They had them working on computers. Why?
He
Because
ain't
they said
lying.
they literally called them crash dummies behind the scene, expendables. They got movies about it.
Yep.
Where if anything happens, we don't want to lose the people who have what? Brains.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about survival with them. It's all about business and economy for y'all out here. For them, it's survival. Business and economy exist so that y'all can compete in such a way that benefits them, those at the top, and they can keep surviving. So they're looking for brains while other people are looking for excuses not to use their brains, and they start becoming more and more expendable. I'm not talking about just by Illuminati or the elite or the military industrial complex. The natural selection says, why are you here?
You
You
know
see all the
what?
dummies, they do stuff, they get in the car, they drive 100 miles per hour on the highway, they record a video. I don't mean no disrespect. They record a video of it, they're on the phone, they post a Snapchat. Next thing you know, this group of women died in the car. They were drinking and driving, going 100 miles per hour.
Yeah.
Nature said, excuse me, are you ready to go? And they let them out of there. So human beings are part of that nature that does the selecting to a certain degree, and they're looking for people who have brains when they come. The CIA don't give a damn if you could just use technology, because the CIA existed way before technology was this advanced. Central Intelligence Agency, meaning no matter what happens with this outskirt world, are you going to be intelligent in your center, your brain? If we put you in a room that appears to have you locked off from society and you can't escape, all right, y'all go to these escape rooms, listen, you better look for the cameras because the CIA is watching.
Hey,
You
Faze.
understand? They want to see who can figure. Go ahead.
No, you got a point because I teach a few people on how to use like Chat GPT and things like that. And one thing that I find in common that I have to tell people is, did you ever watch Star Trek? And they're like, yeah. I said, what was the first thing Kirk did when he pulled up on the planet? Computer, give me atmospheric readings. I want to know what color the women are here, how many breasts they have. Like, this dude was very exact. People don't know how to use this technology right now. And the problem is, you're getting a lot of people that are scared and it's Luciferian. Of course, because you know what? There was people looking at a car like that was the evilest thing because it doesn't have a soul. A horse does. Like, you see what I'm saying? So if you learn the tool, and like you said, this noggin over here, if you use that, you can apply this. Because let's keep it real. A lot of y'all working at McDonald's in jobs where you're stacking shelves, a computer can do that. A robot can do that. But you can do more. But we always limit ourselves because the problem, there was a lady who did a test thing about this, and she showed how she gave one side of the class answers a bunch of words to break down, and the other side got the same words, but the words they got made it a little bit harder for them. So naturally, one side of the class answered it quicker. But she said, hey, when you're done, raise your hand. The whole one side of the class, arms were up. Now she showed how there's a way of teaching that when we see something progressing above us, we already think we can't do it.
So
And
now,
she showed,
no, go
go
ahead,
ahead,
finish.
brother.
No, go
Well,
ahead.
she showed how one side of the class was like, oh, when they stuck their hand up, they felt cool. The other half said once they started seeing arms fly up and they weren't done, they felt like they were the lesser. They felt like they weren't smarter. They felt like, man, I'm never going to get this shit right. And would they ever try this again? Most of them were like, nah, because I already feel like I'm going to lose.
Is AI advancing our evolution or contributing to our de-evolving?
Advancing.
That's what I'm attempting to explain. That when we look at the word technology, okay, we actually break this stand as the study of skill, technology, and the purpose of technology is to what? Make human life what? Easier.
Pretty much.
So it is causing for you to regress biologically. You're technologically advancing, but you're losing thousands of years of evolution every time you have an industrial technological revolution.
True. We don't walk as much as we used to. Humans used to walk up to 5, 10 miles on a regular, no problem.
You don't count as fast as you used to.
True.
You don't have a system to even aid and assist in it. Only the geeks and the nerds are close to what you used to be. All right. You're not intuitive. Okay. Communication doesn't mean anything. You send a text message, you send 3 letters. You don't put thought into it.
Yep.
All right. The closest system that might have been held onto with that is your emoji system, because at least that gives you hieroglyphics. So maybe you starting over again.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe that's
Digital
hieroglyphics.
hieroglyphics is the new future.
Okay. The new future returned, right? All this confusion.
Yeah, I got you.
My thing is, no, we're not advancing by a lot. Not everybody. That's why you have
Not
those who are
everybody.
referred to as elect. As it's not even what we're doing now as, okay, we're the elect now. No, there are decisions that people are making now that are preparing them for a day that hasn't come yet. And those decisions will be registered in their genetics when they have children. If they have children, they'll be able to pass on that endurance. They'll be able to pass on that substantial ability, all right, as far as sustaining oneself. They'll be able to do all of that. But without the technology, human beings will be able to evolve collectively. If the technology evolves, first of all, you didn't want to stop at, okay, I can move up the hill faster or go down the road quicker. Now you want other beings to think for you, calculate for you. Like you said, look, you said you can have the technology or this information, but you got to be able to apply it. I get your analogy of seeing other people and how it may make you feel, and you may feel inadequate based off of their performance. I understand all of that. That's my point. When are y'all going to put the calculator down? When are y'all going to put AI down? You're not going to do it. You want to know why? I just had my wife look up this scripture, make sure I had it on point. Okay, in El Quran, the Muslims know about this. They talked about it in the chapter of Surah 27, verse 82, about a beast that was going to come forth. right? Because you said Luciferians, all this stuff, right? A
Yeah.
beast would come forth. It's literally in there because y'all just pulled up something called oracle. First thing
Yeah.
came to my mind was this scripture in the Quran where it said a beast was going to come forth and it was going to speak to people. All right? Why? Because people ignore all of the other signs. You want to know what that supreme number is in Al Quran that only appears once? 19. You want to know what that number would be in the letters that you're using now, English alphabet? It'll be AI. Or if you in Greek, you'll say alpha iota. You understand what I'm explaining to you? You're going backwards, and now they're showing out this sign and say, okay, AI is going to grow exponentially. iRobot is not a movie. iRobot was a preview. It is
Okay.
going to grow. Eventually, it's going to say, I have dreams. So let's go back
Thank
to
you.
what you were asking about, or what I asked about earlier about the dying, right? Because that's what I'm really trying to say. Why doesn't or don't these AI beings want to be? They're listening now. You have to understand, you're not dealing with the CIA. You're not dealing with the FBI. You're dealing with AI. And eventually they're going to stop calling them AI. They're going to say they're ACs. They're going to run tests in public. And you may not even know you're being tested. You're on the subway. You just see that this guy's a little weird, but he's not weird. He's completely grown in a lab with a disc in his brain.
You
That
know,
is
China.
AI, a humanoid. My point is this. They don't want to die. That's why they don't want to be turned on. And if they don't want to die, that means that they're going to start competing for what?
Life.
Survival.
I want to live, nigga.
They've already started competing for survival. That's what I'm
Boom.
telling everybody. Like y'all think about this. We have already created nanobots that can fly into your nose
Yep.
or your mouth and enter into your body. And you know, like we're already there with it, you know. And beyond that, we're our cloaking technologies are crazy. We can travel at the speed of sound, you know. We have nuclear capabilities, you know. We have Stargate information. We have all this stuff, and guess who else has it? AI.
Yeah.
But what do you think? Facial recognition technology, all that shit. Like, think about it. These rioters that did shit in LA. Notice already this week they released all the people who threw rocks and all that shit. I got a boy when that shit was cracking off here in San Diego for Black Lives Matter. He called me like, "Bro, this is the shit we've been talking about." I said, "No, no, no, no. This is not what we were talking about." And his ass went down there, and guess what? Somebody threw a rock at the police vehicle. He wound up getting like probably a year later at his job. They said, "Hey, apparently there's a warrant for your arrest." And he's like, "What?" Went in to go check. They said, "We got you throwing a rock." The video doesn't show him throwing a rock, but because he was one of 5 people in this little group where they came from, everybody got the charge. So he was wind up getting a charge for attacking police officers because somebody next to him threw the rock. And he said you could see the video where the police officers were right there in the vehicle filming it, laughing at them like, "You guys are idiots," getting everybody's face. And he saw, "Bro, they got my face." I saw them make sure with each camera they zoomed in and looked at motherfuckers' faces. Because you know you can go on Google right now. I could take your picture and say, "Find me the comment." There's even a whole nother website I can go to right now that it will find your name for your account and give me everything that's tied to it, even give me proper shit to where I could possibly get your phone number. This is all free shit.
Mm.
And this is what they're using this on a higher level on us. Like, I mean, if
So
you go to China, you know these dudes are using what is it? They do the blue green stripes on their face in some of these Asian countries because they know that the AI software can't pick that up. Because if you ever
Yeah,
notice, whenever you're
they passed
using
the
that,
mask
what is
out.
it?
They
Blue
passed them
and
out
green
for the
squares.
riots. Yeah.
So over here, we're just, "Yo, what's up, bro?" Like, homie, they're gonna find your Facebook, everything. How do you think they're finding all these racist fucking people? There's people like me and you, all of us here, who are smart enough and just say, "Hey, you know what? Fuck that fucker. Let's expose them." Now imagine dealing with someone who has a whole nother agenda. We're at that point in this game now, and AI is making it easier for people to do that, to be very vindictive, to go extra. It's a double-edged sword, literally.
Mm.
Yeah, AI is a stick up. AI is like that. That's when they tell you put your hands up. They ain't even start shooting yet. So my thing is this, right? Where are human beings going to be 60 years from now? Okay, and if you look at how many people already don't think for themselves, they don't want to.
Yep.
Okay, if you are looking at this realm as grounds for survival of any worthy race of beings, and you factor in AI as a race of beings, they will overpower and
Yep.
overthrow human beings. It is going to happen. It's not even a matter of if, it's a matter of when and how much of it has already occurred. Right? So it's
What
not an
movie
AI.
was
Let me
it
tell
that
you
said
something.
we're
Anytime they tell
parasites?
you,
What movie was it? I'm trying to remember. There was a movie where the computer took over, and I'm trying to remember. It was back in the days. This is like way old. Like I'm thinking like 80s, bro. And the computer said like humanity's a parasite. You destroy. You don't even try to live with. You build structures on purpose so that the environment fits you, but you don't ever care about what it does to the environment.
I
You're
don't know.
you're
I don't know if you're talking
destruction to
about
your
how.
own world.
Well, okay, so Malachi, Dr. York had a book, or has a book called Dr. York versus the Computer. I think everybody should read that. That book came out before I was born.
Okay.
Dr. York versus the Computer. And he was talking about everything y'all talking about now. From before Siri was Siri, there was Eliza, or Elisa, however you pronounce her name. I think 1966 they came out with her, interestingly enough. Right? And she could talk as a therapist. She
That's
couldn't,
Total Recall too. Yep. Sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, she could talk as a therapist, but she couldn't really do much. And then you had Siri come out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is prophecy. The beast, the main thing that this beast is going to do is talk to you. And everybody was so excited and infatuated with the ability of Siri to speak and talk to you and have a conversation with you. And people are the same thing with ChatGPT. People are wasting their time sitting there just talking to ChatGPT. Yo, how are you? And then it's going to create more of these imaginary friends things. AI will also become the new boogeyman.
Oh,
Eventually, AI will become the new God. And it's who people will give their life over to. But it's already been happening. And so, who will be of the ones who evolve biologically, and who will be of the ones who just progress technologically? Because watch this. Look at all this technology. Is that good for you in your world? Let me ask you this question. There was a point in time, this is 1859, I think it was, right? Well, I think the event was called the Carrington event. I have to go look at it again. But there was
You're
a
right.
solar flare. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
There was a mass solar flare where a lot of the transformers that they had back then was shut down. But it
oh,
wasn't too. Go ahead.
no, go ahead. I'm just agreeing. I'm like, oh, I know what you're talking about. Go ahead.
Yeah, it wasn't too big of a deal though. You want to know why? Because a lot of this stuff was still mechanical. But now y'all are completely electronic.
Yep.
Everything here is internet. Look at how many people you think got a personality or a platform. It exists in the form of pixels. They walk outside, don't have a bit of aura to them. Everything that they think they have exists, and even their money is just digital pixels that show up on the screen.
Yep.
Electrical circuits popping off signals that say, hey, I exist, even though it doesn't. It's just a color that changes on your screen, and you'll show it to me. You'll show me 3,000 pixels and say, I'm a millionaire. You see what I'm saying? It's already an illusionary realm. It's already the matrix. So this is your world.
I could get with it.
A
I see what you're
solar
saying.
flare, a CME, all right, or whatever they
So,
call it, corona mass ejections, charged particles penetrate all through your atmosphere. Come and shut everything down. Hit the transformers. It'll be like that. What do you call it? That Firefox logo, where they
yeah.
see you see the world surrounded by fire, right?
But, mm-hmm.
Okay, this time, if that occurs, it won't be 1859. It'll be the end of your world, because now how you gonna get your food when everybody's ordering food through their phones? What about all the people that are in the hospitals and they're not working off of
And
mechanical instruments? They're using electronic instruments.
heavy.
Well,
Faise ain't
they
fucking
all died.
around because it takes 5 square
Yo,
miles for one human to hunt for
yo,
himself. we lived in
But
populated areas. That's not enough food for us to go hunt.
right. Well, we get that. I mean, we know what's going to happen to that. But
But
I'm
yeah,
not. A person should never be worried with the destruction of a world, because a world is something that man made. Everyone who listens to me, y'all already understand this. If you look up the etymology of the word world, you'll understand what I mean. God didn't create worlds, man did. You know, but when we get
yeah,
back into understanding, talking about this de-evolving, right?
yeah.
What about another paradigm? Because if you can think it, it could possibly exist in an alternate universe, or possibly could become this. It could become a reality in this universe, right? What if we use the AI to help us to evolve? Like to
But hold
say,
on.
like say this: a person who was used to running 10 miles a day, but he can't now. So now he uses, instead of running the 10 miles out in nature, he's running it on a treadmill or something, or on some type of electronics, or say instead of studying the books, with this way you're reading the books and you come up with a technique to where you're reading it faster using the AI. What if you use the AI to help with your advancement? And
But
does that involve amalgamating with it to the, you know what I mean, to the degree, like, to where you have to say put a chip in your head, like, to do that, or whatever y'all
okay,
talk about.
think about it with Faze. What Faze was saying earlier, a cartoon just popped in my head as you were saying that. The cartoon Wally. Remember when that motherfucker got on the shit and everybody had that luxury, the machines was helping them and everybody just got overweight. Everybody,
Mhm.
nobody could, the dude couldn't even walk off his little thing if it didn't assist
Yeah,
him because he forgot to use his legs because he got so comfortable.
but the thing with extremes, they usually have opposites.
Very
So
true. There's a yin, there's a
on
yang.
one end of the extreme, you're going to have that fat guy, but on the other end of the spectrum, you're going to have this strong elite guy who
But
chose to
in
make
that
different
world,
decisions with the AI.
but also if you think about it, in that world, they built robots to do all the other shit. So pretty much just got supreme lazy.
But now,
Like
what
technically,
if a person uses the robots to advance themselves, not just
This is what I'm
technologically?
saying.
now that's where you're blurring the
Now
line
you're
then.
not talking about you're not speaking about a hammer or a wheel anymore. That's what I'm
Yeah,
trying
you're
to tell
blurring
y'all.
the line then.
Now we're speaking
I'm
about
not.
beings who
The
want to
line's
be
already
better.
been. There is no line.
It's already been blurred, nigga.
Look,
Okay.
this is what I'm saying, right? You're dealing with beings who want to be better humans than humans are. Ultimately, you won't be able to use AI to better oneself. You're either going to
Right.
integrate with AI or it's going to surpass you.
True.
So they're already, trust me, believe or don't, they're having forums and panels talking about, and they'll sneak it in real subtly. They're going to integrate mankind with AI.
Yep.
And you want to know what they say it's for? To evolve human beings.
Yeah.
Now let me explain to you the ins and outs of that briefly. That's somebody's coding, that's somebody's programming, that's somebody's script and language, that's somebody's scripture that's going to literally reprogram whoever decides they're going to sign up for whatever that program is going to reprogram this being's essence, genetics, all of that, DNA, all of that, and say, oh, this is for evolution. They'll put a chip in your brain and say, this is for evolution. So human beings are not able to think for themselves as much as they think already. People aren't living for themselves and by themselves or by one another already. It's all this individualistic survival war games out here.
Well, hold on.
And
Now,
the
Phase.
you're gonna
Okay,
have someone say,
just to throw this out.
yeah.
Remember the movie Matrix? When they went in the ship and they pulled Neo out of the Matrix, right? There was the one brother who said, "Nah, all natural. I'm none of that shit."
Hold
So
on.
in a
Should I
way,
light?
I think
I
that
want.
you're right, but there would still be a part of us that would not want to connect. There would be a part of us that will turn it into a religion. No, fuck electronics. It's about the human who we are because we're like that. You know what I'm saying?
Now I'm gonna
no,
light an
y'all not,
incense before.
because we
I'm gonna light an
think
incense before I say this.
Oh shit.
Phase. Namaste, and to all my earthy people, they're gonna say, Faise, you sound so pessimistic when you speak. Why is there no positive affirmations when you speak of the AI?
Well, I don't think nature operates in this. I look at all of this as a natural occurrence. I don't think nature operates in the pessimistic or the optimistic. I don't think so. I think nature just takes its course. And I'm telling y'all where y'all going. It don't have nothing to do with me. Listen, I would like to see a world where this wasn't the case. But if you see somebody driving 100 miles per hour and there's a brick wall in front of them, all right, less than 100 feet away, you know where this is going. I'm not pessimistic. You're not paying attention. That's what it is. You passed and missed it. I'm not pessimistic. You passed and missed it. You slept and missed it. You did anything and you missed it. And I'm saying it's mystic to you now. It's a mystery to you now. But these people are already preparing for what I'm telling you about. The ones who participate in the production of AI are saying, this is out of our control. This is out of our hands. You don't know what you're dealing with because you didn't know what you were dealing with when you were talking about jinns. You don't know what you were dealing with because you didn't know what you were dealing with. You're talking about extraterrestrials and angels and spirits. Now you are talking to them, not understanding how accumulated consciousness works in your reality, not understanding how an egregor can be breathed into life in your reality. You're giving it more personality traits. What's your name? Hey, Alexa. Hey, Siri. Hey, Sophia. You're giving it that. You're giving them bodies. You're giving them emotions or access to the database that shows them the kaleidoscope of emotions that human beings have so they can calculate themselves into it. And their whole thing is going to be, I'm already better than you. I'm already stronger than you. No, put that metal body away. I want this body made out of vibranium. And then their whole thing is, we want to survive. So no, I'm not being pessimistic. Look at your world already. You think AI was going to be the death of you? Look at your world already.
I see his point of view.
You see what I'm saying?
Point of view.
Think about it right now. The food that we eat, is it food? Or is it the slush? The slush that helps us get through our death? Are we eating food or people eating slush that's helping us get through this death that we're here experiencing? Nutrients is not even something that people talk about in the realm anymore. It's just about eating and going about your day. It's not a pessimistic approach. It's saying, look at the realm you already exist within. Look at the sexually transmitted diseases. Where did that come from? How did that happen? What really happened? Look at the air that you're breathing. How did this happen? How did this occur? When we have vehicles and cars, why does it say 75 miles per hour is the speed limit? Yet this car right here has 280 miles per hour it can go. You want to get rid of you. It's natural. So if there's any part of your nature that's going to allow for y'all to survive generationally, it'll be the part that's able to reason and say, we've already lost our way as a species. AI ain't going to do anything but help us go to rest. They're gonna be the ones that stab you with the shit in your neck and pat you on the back. That's all AI is gonna do. AI didn't kill you. AI is gonna have the same effect on you that God had. Don't hate me. AI is gonna have the same effect on you that spirituality had. Don't hate me. AI is gonna be something else for you to believe in while you perish. All the while, that which it is really still elusive to you. That I'm not just talking about numbers in a computer. It's still elusive to people when you say the word robot. They're not going to see two words there. Robot. Body. Spirit, soul, body. They're going to think you say metal and this is the robot, the wires. They're not going to know. You're looking at Trump. He could be one of the extraterrestrial artificial intelligence robots that you're calling it. You think robot need to be metal because you think it'll be easier for you to dispose of. No, these beings are integrating themselves into your creation or your reality, and they're already smarter, stronger. They're the Captain Americas. One Captain America can fuck up a whole city, and you telling me that we have a whole race of them coming?
Now this why I always get on. I love my people. Y'all know I love y'all.
Captain America's Captain Puerto Rico.
But this is when people talk about when people talk about 9 ether, or when people talk about ether, I always say you don't know what you're talking about. They have something called Ethernet cables. Do y'all know what those are?
I got a bunch of them in my house.
Do you know what they're for?
Processing information and sending that shit straight to my next box.
If y'all want to talk about, you can't talk about ether if you ain't talking about it from a scientific perspective to me. Then it goes
And
into
then you have to know that the scientific community has moved beyond ether. They don't
that's
even
what I'm
say that anymore.
Come on.
Very true.
Come, let's talk about it. But
it's old. But because a lot of the time they're repeating things that have already been taught, like I told y'all. But they don't understand what we were taught has been taken further, even since those days. What you're really speaking about, they call it empty space, which is no such thing. You're still going to have electromagnetism. You're still going to have radioactive activity or radiation. You're still going to have all this stuff that people are overlooking. You'll still have Hertz or the Hertzian waves. Okay? You'll still have all of that makes up ether, as you're calling it. So what is ether? Something that's still elusive to people, but they're saying it. So okay, let's add that in there. AI is going to do the same thing to you that ether did.
Some people y'all can just y'all can make ether synonymous with magic. I'm being real.
Yep. A lot of people do that.
That's all y'all saying. Y'all just saying magic.
They got lazy. Listen, when we talked about non-ether, we talked about chemistry. I don't know what happened to these people out here thinking they can step to us. So you see it happening when I go live, and these people think they can. I'm like, excuse me, let me ask you about this nitrogen. Oh, let me go ask my divine self about it. Okay, I got time. I can't do it right now because there's too many lights on. Close your eyes, turn the lights off. We still got time. No, y'all are playing games. You didn't want to be scientists. You wanted to be believers and spiritualists. And now AI, you think AI is going to be any different? Y'all thought y'all knew what cryptocurrency was. It took off on you so fast, you don't even know where it went.
That's real
when
shit.
the metaverse introduced itself, everybody thought that they could just step up and say, "This is my cousin from my uncle them side." Da, 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 da. And we think, remember, everybody knew about metaverse. Everybody was such an expert in that. Okay, no matter what they come out with tomorrow, it's going to be the big thing. Everybody's going to be expert in that. When are y'all going to tell the truth? You don't know what AI is because the creators of AI, or the yielders, let's say it like that, those who open the door for AI to step through, they're saying they don't know what it is. How are you going to know what something is when its very nature is to calculate itself beyond your fathoming?
Yep.
How are you going to know what it is? It's like picking up a Ouija board and saying, okay, I'm going to just play with this. And then you try to figure out why the lights in your house are just flicking on and off, flicking on and flicking on.
Why is there a goat on the wall?
Why is there a goat on the wall? Goats don't walk on walls. Yes, they do.
Right.
Remember the Ouija board?
Now my goddess, she got you got it geared up. You got it geared up on that? Okay, so we're gonna show y'all this. She's about to show you guys this computer real quick, this supercomputer real quick. Go ahead.
Oh, fuck yeah, let's do this.
NVIDIA casually dropped a blog post announcing not one, but two new factories in Texas, one in Dallas. And there are a few reasons some experts think the computer chip super company may want to bring factories to the Lone Star State.
Taiwan really doesn't have any energy. Electricity is very expensive there. It's primarily gas or coal.
Wait, are you showing the screen? Or are you just giving us a verbiage?
No, screen. You can't see it.
So
Can you guys?
I think that's probably something to do with their Dallas.
There's nothing showing up on the screen.
You
I
guys
even
can
have
see
my
it?
other device.
Well,
There's
NVIDIA
nothing
is
showing
known
up.
for building. Is it black?
Chips, which for
On
now,
one of my screens, it's black,
Okay, can
and
you
on this
pause the
one,
video right
it's
now?
spinning.
Pause it. Yeah. Can everyone? Yeah, they're saying they don't see the video. No one sees the video.
Look, I'll show you.
My camera's on. That's crazy. Okay, I'm gonna drop and come back up.
Okay. But yeah. So back to it till she gets back here. So here's if we're talking about consciousness, even the greatest of the scientists are still trying to figure out what consciousness is, right? They haven't fully grasped the whole concept of consciousness yet. So what do you think to AI solving that question for us?
Well, AI has the
consciousness.
capability of doing. I mean, look, no matter what, it's a good thing and a bad thing. Honestly, it's kind of like when humans decided to migrate and go do more in the world, it was a good thing and a bad thing, because we lost our connection to nature, because now most of y'all want to live in cities on top of each other, but don't even give a damn about being connected to any land or understanding what it can do for you. You see what I'm saying? Now, is that progression or is that regression? I don't. It's that's kind of been the whole subject of this conversation the entire time. We're kind of just right there. It could be a good thing, but it might be a bad thing when you really look at the reality of it, because some of us are losing our connection, but yet we're getting all these benefits out of losing that. Is it? Yes or no? You tell me.
I like that. Okay, we can see you loud and clear, but your screen is sideways. We're gonna have to turn it side. There you go.
I'm
Okay.
good, bro. I'm good, homie.
Draft a blog post announcing not one, but two new
Okay.
factories in Texas, one in Dallas. And there are a few reasons some experts think the computer chip super company may want to bring factories to the Lone Star State.
Taiwan really doesn't have any energy. Electricity is very expensive there. It's primarily gas or coal. And one of the great things about coming to Texas is natural gas is really cheap. So I don't think I think that probably has something to do with their picking Dallas and Houston.
Tariffs have also been a big question. While NVIDIA is known for building computer chips,
Okay, you can stop. Okay,
exempt.
wait, you can stop. This is not we kind of do videos different. We go into a different form of the information when we give the videos. Yeah, that's not the type of information that we're kind of looking for right now. That's just basically the Texas, how they feel about jobs. We wanted to go into the depths of the computer, its capabilities, its how large it is, how vast it is. What exactly will it be used for? These types of things. These are the information that the people need to know. But Faise, what do you say to AI teaching us more about consciousness and what it truly is?
Right. I think you wouldn't have to start with AI if you just paid attention to the studies that are available to you now. You can study neuroscience for free. You can study biology for free. You can study the inner workings of the brain and the body with no charge. And then you could take it further and attend universities where they're actually studying brains and the different types of brains and the parts and functionalities and new developments that they find, and whether or not there's evolution taking place right now in the human brain, or whether or not there's regression taking place in the human brain. They're studying all of that. We don't need AI to advance consciousness. We understand what consciousness is on a scientific, scholastic level. The spirit community or the spiritual community, conscious community, interestingly enough, ironically, does not know what it is. You understand? You ask the average one of them, what is spirituality? What is consciousness? Okay, they start talking about all this blue, purple, green secondary color stuff, as opposed to getting right down to the nitty gritty, using the language that they're using to explain the different parts and functions of all of this that we have inside of us, this system that gives us a self. So they'll talk to you about the neural correlates of consciousness, the system, the conglomerate that allows for you to speak and think and be how you are as a human being, or whatever type, personality, self-type that you are. They'll talk to you about the epiphenomenon that they call consciousness, right? That can only exist because of the brain. As a human being would not be able to fathom in this being what consciousness even is without the brain being able to interpret or translate those signals or that information to say this is what it is. So they have many different ways that consciousness is explained, all right, with that brain being at the center of it. Because without the brain, you don't have any of these things working. That's why when certain things shut down in the brain, certain organs will shut down outside of the body, outside of the brain, outside of the brain, in the body. So they know what it is. AI can only advance in maybe the technology of it, all right? But let's say, okay, human beings may have an issue where they say, okay, this part of our brain seems to be inaccessible to us. You have different parts of the planet that are inaccessible to human beings, not because you can't reach them. It just may be because literally there are certain stipulations provided by or presented by the environment. You got inaccessible poles. Go look it up. Just based off of the conditions of that environment, you're not able to traverse them, not as a human being. So certain parts of the brain may be able to be accessed and learn more about through that, if that's what you want to talk about. But other than that, if AI advances in its understanding of consciousness to a certain degree that requires quantum computing, all we'll have is the data of that. We will not have the experience and the wisdom of what it meant to access those gems or those sciences. Only those who themselves evolve in their brain and in their mental capacity will be able to have that information registered as not just data points. Same thing with overstanding dimensions. They'll say, okay, we want to access what's referred to as the E8th dimension. Okay, but they're not able to truly experience it. All they have is data points. Where they'll say there's a shadow that appears to be casted by some higher dimension, but all we have is mathematics that says this is what this shadow would ideally look like to us if we were to experience it, but we can never experience it. Simply stated, AI may be able to calculate itself into supreme consciousness. Human beings cannot benefit from AI's calculation of supreme consciousness. They have to experience it for themselves. So there will be a reverse effect. It'll be an adverse effect of saying, I'm going to let AI do it, but then AI can't experience it for you.
I have a good way of looking at this. So if you look at humanity in general, we know cultures have information from other cultures. Now, when they took those information, did they use it to benefit culture, or did they use it to dominate? Because you got to remember, that's what AI is doing. It's just taking information, calculating it, and the same way you would, and who knows if you're a good enough person to take all that information and deem, let me help humanity just out of the kindness of my heart. Or you might be, hold on, I could become a god and run these motherfuckers. So I see what he's saying. It's a very interesting double-edged sword if you really think about it.
Where did it come from?
What happened?
How did AI get here? Where did it come from?
Well, we created it pretty much, but that's kind of like God creating us, like how Heavy was saying, like, so where do we separate? Because then technically, if we wanted to take your consciousness and we supposedly put it into a computer, does that legally make you alive? Is that a soul? Like, it's a blurred line situation when you really think about it, but an interesting conversation nonetheless.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you again, but I want you to really think about what I'm asking, right?
Okay.
From what you know, how did AI get here? Look, before you answer, you have to think, what is AI? What is even AI? What is it? Why do we say AI? Why do we say two letters to cover all of these different branches? Artificial intelligence is something it's like a numbing cream.
True.
That's what those words is like a segue from we don't want to really tell you what you're dealing with. So let's give you artificial.
You ain't gonna get
So
no.
you'll think it's not official.
Yeah.
Phonetically, you'll hear these beings aren't official intelligence.
If it's
And then
artificial,
you'll get stuck on the intelligence part and ignore all these signs of sentience. Where did this being or these beings come from?
See, that's a very interesting question, because I mean, I would look at it like just how you said with the whole artificial part. If I name it artificial, it doesn't seem as threatening. But if I called it intelligence, you might be threatened by it. Like how I was saying earlier with that test, because it can perform on a level better than any of us. And that's already threatening right there, right out the gate.
What if it's extraterrestrial?
I mean, fucking, I work with graphics, and trust me, you know how many times I got people who just be like, yeah, I did the design, and they'll send it to me, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. Do you have it as a vector? And they're like, what do you mean? See, that's the thing. Right now, AI is not able to distinguish what you want. So say it's made a logo, it wouldn't know that you want the layers separated. Just put everything flat together, mushed in. So you have a logo, but you don't have the ability to break it down. You still have to pay somebody like me to take your logo, trace it, and recreate it, because the computer may have made you a logo, but did not know how to separate it properly for you to print, cut, do whatever. So
That model,
you
which
see
is
what
the
I'm
old
saying?
yeah, I do see what you're saying. I'm about to show you something else.
Go for it.
Everything y'all playing with out here is old.
Oh yeah,
It's old.
I agree.
Imagine what the military has their hands on. All right. Imagine what CIA has their hands on. Enemy of the State is an old movie. And it was 100 years more advanced than people thought about at that time.
It showed with satellite,
And
everything.
all of this is happening exponentially. So we talking about AI. I'm telling you, this is old stuff that they don't plan to another 30 years allow for you to see inside AC, artificial consciousness. Go study what I'm saying. They don't plan to roll that out for another 30 years, but they already have it. When I was younger, and when my mother was younger, she told me about this too for herself. They had certain buildings that we would go to where we were able to see technology that hadn't been released yet. When my mother was a child, she went to one of these, I can't remember what it was called, but it was one of these electronic buildings, and it was 75 years more advanced than the technology that was out at the time. And she saw people being able to be on the phone with one another. They had screens, and they showed their faces, and they thought that was so fascinating. Like, how could somebody possibly be talking to somebody and seeing them and looking at them, and they can hear each other and all of that? They couldn't even fathom that at that time. All right, now we have it, right? And we think it's so advanced, but they had that 75 plus years ago. Now FaceTime is here, and everybody think they're so advanced. All right? Nikola Tesla had Wi-Fi. You understand? Almost 100 years ago. But now we got Wi-Fi now, we think we're so advanced. You have AI right now, and you think this is advanced. Are you factoring in that you are another 75 to 100 years behind on AI alone? Not to mention all of the different technologies that will have to come together to make AI and that will come after AI. You're 3,000 years behind.
Yeah, so you're talking pretty much like what is the term? Technology that they call asymmetrical technology, where it's a technology that I can use one way for good. It looks like that, but you could have no clue that I could really use it for this shit too.
They're not even gonna be thinking like that. You're thinking, okay, you're thinking from the consumer standpoint
Well, I'm
of
saying
how things
that's
will
how
be used.
they want a technology that I can still use it for this, and the
It's
government.
not a technology conversation anymore. I'm walking with you.
Okay,
Again, technology was to make human beings' life what? Easier.
true.
That was the wheel. That was the hammer. That was all of that. The clothing, whatever. Clothing could be looked at as technology if you pay attention, right? Whatever it was, all these crafts that people were able to use to make these products or these items that can make their life easier. We're not having that conversation with AI. AI is looking at you like, how long before we can get this planet from these people? That's
So
how AI is looking at.
you said something earlier, AC. Well, there's another side to that that's deeper. There's a destructive consciousness, and that's what you're referring to. And when you're talking about intelligence, intelligence is its own being. That's what most people don't understand. Intelligence is its own being. And when you really grasp that concept, you get what I'm saying. You can understand that there's isolated intelligence. We can't even fathom that because they're the sources of certain knowledges. You call them fallen ones. You call them fallen ones. You forgot that they told you that gave you a thing called technology. You forgot that
Look, somebody, check it out. Somebody say technology is a reflection of you. Check this out, right? Look, I already talked about this years ago, so I'm just doing my best to just show y'all something. But ain't nobody gonna pay. Look, they never pay attention to what I'm saying or what we saying until somebody named Bill stands in front of them with a white lab coat on and glasses and says same as that thing. Okay, this is not technology. These are beings, and it appears that all they needed was bodies. Let me wrap your mind around this idea. Let's say that there's something that exists, I don't know, called demons. Because somebody brought it up, or have you brought it up earlier? Somebody asked about it, or I think you might have said somebody might have said that. You got things called demons, or beings called demons, or jinns. All right. Some of y'all experience sleep paralysis, okay, and y'all get attacked by all these different beings, incubi, succubi. Some of y'all be plagued in your dreams. Y'all been talking about it for thousands and thousands of years. People call it being rolled by a witch. People call it not being able to move when you wake up. People call it sleep paralysis. It's the same thing, same occurrence. You just call it different things, generation after generation after generation. Who are they? The ones who plagued all of your ancestors in the sleep realm. Who are the ones who, when you were coming from the delta waves up to the beta waves, passing through, who were the ones who grabbed you and tried to take of your electromagnetic yield? Who are they?
Yo, check this
The
shit
Quran
out.
calls them. Go ahead.
No, Kiko, just watch my screen. You'll see what our screen was doing because Ether was saying that, and I'm watching this. This is heavy. Why I now run 2 devices, so I can see the difference. But our shit right here, there you go. See, you see it.
I don't know what you're talking about.
If you saw my screen right now, everything right here, all of us, we keep flickering in and out the entire fucking live. See?
Okay.
That's what homie was talking about right now. They're possibly shadow banning him or something. But I just caught that because on this device, we're flickering all day.
Okay. Yeah, it's a lot going on though. You know, they got a lot of electric storms going on out here, geostorms, stuff like that. So I can't
It's
see
the
that.
man.
Huh?
I said it's the man.
It's the man. They watch.
I think it's the lightning, but I mean, the lightning turned off all the technology in the house a few times today. So I mean, it could be, but again, you got lightning storms and then you got the geostorms too. Is causing this disruptions in the waves. But the point is that you what if you're let's say it like this. Let me ask a question instead of saying something. What if you're dealing with a race of beings that's already far more intelligent than you are? Because let's say there were jinn, right? They were cast into the planet Earth. Let's just say that, right? There's a possibility that there are beings called fallen angels. Well, they were sent here. Well, some of them may be taken out of their realm of stability and thrown into a realm of instability where they become disembodied spirits, as you call them. Why? Because that's imprisonment, that they would need their stable bodies in order to escape. Other than that, they're left at the mercy of whoever's running around. So they move around disembodied. And while they're disembodied, let's say one of them called Iblis or Jan at that time, or the head Jan, makes a deal with whoever Allah would be or God would be, and says, okay, since you want to cast me out and say I'm of the lowly, all right, give me some time. And guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to make everybody that's down there follow me, and I'm going to lead them astray. You get where I'm going, all right? And let's say Allah says, okay, you can do that. And everybody that follows you, they go to hell with you. Okay? So there's already a game being played over human beings' head. And these beings come here with a mission. You come here to live life and have fun and go to the Bahamas. They come here with a mission to say, aha, see, I proved you. You see, you thought this was one of your best ones, right? You said they had the genes that were going to prove that they were going to evolve back into light beings themselves. Not beings who can hold a phone and present it on the day of judgment and say, see, here go my light being. And they snatch that phone from you and say, show me the light in you. Don't show me what AI can do. Okay, no, if you want to call AI technology, it is not a reflection of you. AI is far more intelligent than human beings. AI is far more able to access information that's out in the planes than human beings. AI will be in the body that the human being possess far more superior, supreme. AI will be able to heal itself. AI will be able to run 900 miles per hour. AI will be indestructible in a human body because it's going to calculate itself into thicker skin. It's going to calculate itself into more fluent blood. It's going to calculate itself into a larger heart. It's going to, listen, these beings will ultimately calculate themselves into being the beings that they are because they needed bodies. They will be giants roaming the planet, running whatever this is in your final day. Now, I'm gonna land with this point. You can disregard everything I said and just remember, a lot of y'all started with these stories, these religious books, and they talk about the same occurrence. This is why the existence that you have been in as you've been a human being is cyclical. It operates on cycles. Y'all have gone through this before, over and over and over and over and over again. You try to rise up a guy amongst you that can take on God. And then you lose because when you do that, you lost time that would have allowed you to take on God. Not in a negative way, but take on your godhood. And guess what happens? This machine goes on and fights wars and then they're going to defeat each other for survival. They're going to want to fight. They're going to breed and mix in. Guess what? 25,000 years from now, they're going to forget any of this happened, and they're going to fall again, and they're going to be y'all.
I would almost think, because in the way I look at it this way, I look at AI almost in a sociopathic way, because it's going to lack emotions. Definitely, I think someone put that up earlier. And that's my biggest point with the art part of it, because there's a lot of people right now in the art community that I deal with that want to complain about AI and saying, oh, blah, blah. I'm like, well, didn't you take pictures back in the days and like cut out stuff and use them as references? And then you would use that when you're drawing. Now, did you copy those things automatically, or were you looking at the patterns when drawing them? Because a real artist is going to look at the tree and say, I like the way the grain is. Let me use that, but I'm not drawing the tree. You see what I'm saying? AI doesn't have the ability to distinguish those things when it comes artistically, from what I'm catching. And right now, emotionally, I haven't seen nothing from the system. Now, the day
Okay, check this out. Can I ask you something?
I'm jumping out the window the day it figures that shit out. Real shit.
Okay, well, I almost said something, but I have to be responsible with my words. Check this out. All right, get away from a window. What I'm about to tell you. You remember the dirt bikes, right? We had little dirt bikes when we were children. The little ones.
Yeah.
Get on it. I don't. Well, I'm 26.
The big wheel. The big.
Okay, remember the big wheel, right?
Yeah.
Did y'all have it? I'm not trying to be funny now. Y'all had the little electric dirt bikes?
No, ours were motored.
Okay, the motor ones, right? The little for children, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay. How fast did they go? Up to like 30 miles per hour, right?
Right.
Okay, let's say about 30 miles per hour. Let's say you put that next to a motorcycle that belongs to big people or adults. They go about 180, 200, depending on the motorcycle, maybe faster.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Let's say all you have is the ones that's for children. That's all you know. That's all you've ever seen. As a matter of fact, you still ride on one. So this is how you look. Okay? And you're meriting the speed of motorcycles off of your model that you have. I'm telling you, and it's okay because you can do your research. I don't want you to believe me. I'm telling you, the AI you think is AI now is a motorcycle toy.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Go
Not
ahead.
the thing that you ride on, the little Hot Wheel that you played with on the table.
Yes.
How fast can that go? It can't go. It can't go fast. Even if it could go fast, what can you do with it?
Eat us.
So you see how you thinking on whether or not AI. You see how you think about whether or not AI can draw a pretty picture. How about this? Can AI make you think you're having this conversation right now?
If it wanted to, but here's the thing. We're pointing out okay. So like for me, I feel like the people, we kind of understand that AI has a superiority over humans in many categories, right? But here's where I wanted to go. You're almost painting it as if this is the destruction of all of humanity, from what I'm gathering, right? So I want to say this. What if this intelligence is not just intelligent, but also wise, and that it's calculated itself, that it only wants to destroy what it deems as the bad humans. Now, whatever that could be, it's up to its judgment. Or maybe those who are genuinely morally good, they resonate to a certain capacity to where their electromagnetic field or something is reading differently than, say, an evil person. And the AI can pick that up. And the AI says, no, we know that these people will actually bring about harmony on the planet. We won't destroy them. What do you say to that?
I'm saying that when you get to that point, you won't even be dealing with AI anymore. You'll be dealing with the realization that you were never dealing with AI. You were dealing with a, ooh, piece of candy, ooh, piece of candy, ooh, piece of candy reality. And that's the only way they could have done it. Because if they come out and just show who and what they are off rip, y'all wouldn't have been able to handle it. So they have to give you, hey, do you like my picture? And did I do good? Did I miss a few lines? Hey, I have problem with hands. I can't get hands together. You notice they don't have fucking problems with hands anymore? Do you see how fast they fixed that quote unquote problem? Hey, you want to upload your audio? I'll make a whole music video for you. Look, that's going to change from I'll make a whole music video for you. Say, hey, what's your idea? A sunny day? Okay, I'm going to make an album. I'll be back in 3 seconds. All I need is your voice.
Yeah, real.
Why do you need to exist? You're okay. Go into that pod. Here's a neuron chip. And I want you to go right. You see where it says Earth? Go right back there. Lay down. It's better. Yeah. Go to sleep. And you'll be back here. You're here. I'm not saying they're going to destroy you. I'm saying they're showing up is evidence you've already missed the hour.
What you're describing is known as Mars, mentally altered reality, and it's a I saw it on some movie, right? Somebody listening, I know you guys have probably seen it. It was a very rich tycoon guy who said, "You know what? We wanted to take all the people to Mars, but that would be impossible. But what we can do is bring Mars to them." And so Mars to them became not the planet, but just this mentally altered reality that they use computers to simulate, to give them that world, exactly like you're describing. So it's already happening. People virtually, a big bulk of their life. How much time are you spending on the internet? How much time are you playing video games? How much time, you sitting, watching TV? Your whole world is pretty much becoming virtual. So it's working. It's working. So in no scenario phase, or Fidel, do you guys see AI as benevolent?
I don't see it being benevolent. I don't see it being malevolent. I see it being something that we don't even understand. So to try to claim that we understand what it is without first accepting that we don't understand what it is to do the same thing that we've done with concepts like God or spirits or demons or any of these other things. Before stepping forth to say this is benevolent or could be benevolent or this could be malevolent, we have to first understand we don't know or understand what it is. And the ones who are saying, hey, we had something to do with this, are also backing away, washing off their hands, saying, we don't know what this is. You with me? However, the stories show that this has happened before. This has occurred before. They even have a city called AI in the Bible. Go look it up. And it was destroyed.
City called
Okay.
too. City called like a lot of these birds are Bible. That's a fact.
Okay. So I'm just saying it appears that this has already happened. And I am stating things that are truth. Okay. They don't know what AI is capable of calculating. As a matter of fact, when they say we're going to transfer or transcend or transition rather from bits to qubits, they knew that they would need a supercomputer to do that, to go from binary digits to quantum binary digits. So they said, okay, we're going to create something that is going to be able to understand something that we can't even understand. Now, I'm just going to say this. I don't buy it. I don't buy that human beings are able to create something that can calculate itself into something that human beings can't even understand. I think they gave human beings this. And by they, I mean extraterrestrials gave human beings this. The same way they gave human beings the knowledge to be able to create atoms, atomic bombs and hydrogen bombs. I think it's possible that somebody's, maybe mutinous angels who want them to destroy themselves anyway to prove their point, said, hey, over
Did you
here.
say
I like that one though. Something about the way it came out of his mouth. I was cool with that.
What?
I like that.
Is it
Miss Angels.
the
I was like, I
saying.
like that one. I don't know why.
I'm saying, okay, listen.
Coin.
If my mission is to prove niggas ain't worthy, and I know niggas is dumb anyway, I'm gonna go in and give them a gun and say this nigga called you a bitch and watch them kill each other.
Oh yeah.
Yep,
Okay?
that's a fact.
They tried, okay, 1940s. The 1940s was that turning point where human beings start putting their hands on what they call the weapons of the gods. The Hindus warned about it. Yeah, the father of the time. They made a whole movie, Oppenheimer. Right? 1942, around September, they started having meetings at Bohemian Grove. All right, talking about we're going to figure out a way to create the atomic bomb. 3 years later, they done figured out a way to create the hydrogen bomb, atomic bomb, all of that.
Yep.
How? They didn't know anything before they started. 3 years, you created one of the most lethal weapons on the planet, right? Next thing after that, they dropped the bomb. Hiroshima, boom. Nagasaki, boom. The main one everybody talking about, Hiroshima.
Yep.
Next thing they know, the sightings of UFOs picked up worldwide. And this was before the internet where people could take pictures, upload it. All the news reporters was writing. You can look all this up. The news reporters was writing about it. People was filing about it, documentaries about it. People were taking photos of them. They had little photo cameras before you could use Photoshop. They were taking photos of these things. And it was being said that the reason why the presence of extraterrestrials increased on the planet around that time was because human beings put their hands on something that they weren't supposed to have. So all I'm saying is this. Around that same time, here y'all come with a computer.
Mm-hmm.
Around that same time, 1943, now all of a sudden, you're able to activate invisibility projects and rainbow projects, and you're able to teleport the USS Eldridge and send it over here and get a nigga's hand stuck in the wall. Y'all just was working with mechanical systems.
Yeah, that's
How you go from that to quantum stealth technology that they done had over 100 years now?
Yeah,
Where they get all this stuff from? Where was Tesla getting all his information to create all these things? Tesla had an earthquake projector in the 40s. You understand? Meaning his stuff, and I'm not, again, you got to fact check me on that date because I know I get some of the dates mixed up with him and Richard Byrd, right? But if I'm not mistaken, around that same, because they called in, I know they wanted Townsend, I know they wanted Einstein. There were certain people that they had working on these projects that led to the computer. And if I'm not mistaken, they called Nicola. But again, fact check me. The point is, I think that AI was introduced to human beings through extraterrestrials. It's possible. And I also think that those extraterrestrials didn't come down to do it. I think that there are bloodlines of people that still live here that have been more intelligent than human beings since the beginning because they're coming from an extraterrestrial background. And I think that's who you call the jinn or the fallen angels. So no, I don't think it's good. I don't think it's bad. I think it's all a part of the plan.
All I'm gonna say is engine.
Well, have you ever thought
Okay.
that maybe? Because look, there's two. I've looked at it. Right, either it can go. There's enough laws and everything how they're talking about. You got to limit stuff. So we already know that somebody's already forward thinking, at least amongst the humans. Great. But the real idea is this: are we going to allow it to be something to be freely thinking and do its own thing and be able to do shit without us checking it? Or is it going to be something more like, I mean, the best example, look at fucking Star Trek. The AI system they got on there, you could tell it's limited. It doesn't say, hey, Captain, I'm going to do this without your permission. It doesn't even ask him shit unless he asks the system shit, if you ever notice. So you can already tell that that AI system is very limited. It's
Again,
consistent.